Oh, hey there. Let's talk about habit change. Hello and welcome to the Mindful Movement. I'm Les Raymond. Thanks for joining me today for another mindful tip. Today we're talking about habit change. This is one that I really enjoy working with. I have spent a lot of time working in a gym environment where people come in and they're basically looking for some type of transformation, some type of change. And this is really common. We're all, everybody could relate to at some point wanting something different out of ourselves, desiring something, and then there being some kind of disconnect of where we are now and where we desire to be. And coming into the end of the year here, it's really common that it's on people's minds with the new year right around the corner. So there's a framework that I've found myself using that uses mindfulness to help navigate these ideas of how do I change my habits to get to a different place. And part of that is to recognize that attachment to some desired place and thinking the answers or your happiness is just going to arrive when you are somewhere different. That's kind of an illusion and can be a trap. What I find to be a more useful kind of scaffolding to build these thought processes and decisions off of is to consider what you really value in life and think of that as a general direction that you want your decisions to point. And you could basically infuse your decisions with that intention. Because life never really pans out exactly how we expect. So when we're attached to an expectation, we could create a lot of conflicts just out of nowhere. We create the conflict and then it will store itself somewhere between our left ear and our right ear. And we'll spend time rattling around in our mind with our thoughts. And it'll show up as problems, Everything would be okay if this. I would be happy if this. So the attachment can really get in the way, and that's not an easy thing to cultivate, non-attachment. This is not something that just emerges from nowhere. It takes practice, and again, don't be attached to getting perfect at that. You're never going to get there, but it's a process. And it's a practice that, with regular engagement in that process, you could find a lot of happiness and joy and cultivate a lot of love along the way. So taking time first to think about what is the desired direction, at least, that you would like your day-to-day decisions to point to. And maybe spending some time thinking about that. Maybe even dwelling on it, like, what do you really want? What's really important to you? What does that look like? Maybe even consider what it might feel like and what it offers to you from a quality of life standpoint. And then recognize that where you are today is a sum of all the things you've done so far. This idea of habit change can be represented with this very simple diagram. This is you now. And you are on a trajectory. There is a cumulative momentum of all the things we do and have done. And what we know is that the things that we've done so far get us here. So if we continue that trajectory and do the same things, we have an idea of what that will manifest down the road. It'll be more of what has got us to where we are. But if we change our habits even just a tiny bit, because where we are is a sum of all the things, meaning all of our experiences, everything we've ever eaten, every night's sleep, whether good or bad, or every stressful conversation, or every bout of exercise, whether nourishing or maybe too stressful. Even our thoughts and our feelings go into this, the way that we think about things. So if we start to change these inputs, like maybe we get 15 minutes more quality sleep a night. And we don't notice much, but over time, it starts to make a difference. And we pile that on with maybe a little cleaner nutrition, maybe a little less negative nutrition. And maybe we get some more healthy exercise that nourishes our body and doesn't just deplete it. And maybe we work on our mindset, how we think about things, whether that looks like building more self-love or self-compassion, however it may manifest. And what that does is it changes that momentum quite a bit over time. And this is the mechanism we want to take advantage of and use it to our benefit. And that's the power of changing our habits. Now, the drawings in this diagram are a little weak, I admit. That's not my niche. But I think you get the point. If we are stuck on attachment to outcomes, these habit changes I find to be more challenging, especially when we have an expectation of a small change in our lifestyle having a big impact very soon. And we could set ourselves up for a sense of like failure or not good enoughness. Like I did the thing and it didn't work. A lot of them, they do work. They just take time. And the body is an adaptation machine. We never really stop adapting and changing. We're constantly in transformation. So habit change is really about playing a role in what that transformation is going to be. Because whatever you do, you're going to transform into some, different variation of you. If you spend the next decade on the couch eating crappy food, you're still going to transform. You might just not really be pleased with what that outcome looks like. So we're going to be doing it. So we want to engage in that process and empower ourselves to play that greater role in the direction our well-being is heading. So acknowledge that it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. So if we could remove the expectation of, magical things in a couple weeks taking place, not that you won't feel some benefit as you change your behaviors, but giving yourself time, like giving yourself enough compassion to allow the process to just unfold as it does. And maybe you could find joy in the process of habit change, knowing that the decisions you make are starting to align your life in a direction in which you determine aligns with the things that you value, the things that you desire. That way, regardless of how it turns out, you could find a lot of happiness along the way, just knowing that you're doing something that's like meaningful for you and fulfilling. And then be patient. These changes add up. Little changes in the quality of our sleep, or how much sunlight we get, or how much clean water, or the type of food we eat, or the beliefs we have about ourselves, all these things will impact how the physical body manifests in the world and how you show up for all the things in your life that you care about, like the way you relate to your loved ones or your environment. It does happen. I've transformed many a times, and the only thing I've really done is kind of tinkered with the input knobs. What do I put in my mouth? How much sleep do I get? How much water do I get? You know, what do I do to manage the stress? Like, we live in a society, in a culture, where there's a lot of things that you could kind of get overstressed about. So having processes in your lifestyle that are accounting for that stress, that are intentionally kind of unwinding the stress that builds up in the body, these are important aspects to living, a healthy lifestyle. And they're not necessarily easy to incorporate. Habit change isn't necessarily easy, but it is relatively simple. It's not rocket science what to do. The hard part is, how do I get myself to take that step today? And sometimes the thing that's interfering with that process are fairly deep embedded emotional things. So sometimes you have to find the right tool to work on the thing you're working on. For instance, right now I'm in a gym. So if you're trying to get, let's say, stronger or more mobile or build more endurance, it's a pretty good environment for that because there's a lot of tools to play with to kind of sharpen that particular tool in your toolkit. And when you're dealing with more thought processes and belief systems and emotions and things like that, because they will all affect how you show up in the world, you could affect that a little bit in the gym because you're altering your relationship with yourself, and you could build a sense of self-worth, self-love. But it might not be the ideal tool for you. Meditation could be a very powerful tool to build that relationship with yourself and change the way that you think about things. Also, you could learn through books or podcast interviews. I mean, we're kind of spoiled these days with content. There's a whole genre of self-help. A good portion of that is really centered around changing behavior, habit change. If you feel like you're really stuck, personalized work can be very powerful. I know on some of my big changes in my life, like quitting drinking after a 23-year daily habit, hypnosis was a tool that I used because it seemed to be the right tool for me at that time for that habit. And if you want to explore what that looks like on a one-on-one basis, where you have a custom hypnotherapy and a custom hypnosis delivered to you, well, that's Sarah's wheelhouse. That's her niche. So you could reach out through the mindful movement and maybe schedule a session with her and see if that's a good fit for you. Now, of course, that comes at a price. So we try to offer a lot of content that's free. So that's always a great place to start. We have hypnosis-based meditations on the channel that are really geared towards habit change. So if habit change is really on your mind these days, coming in this time of the year, then take advantage of those videos, and repetition helps. I know when I quit drinking, I found that at the source of my inability, like my stuckness, that didn't allow me to believe I could quit drinking, was really a lack of confidence. So I didn't listen to a hypnosis about drinking or not drinking. I listened to a hypnosis about confidence, and I just cultivated from within more confidence over the course of a month using that tool. So I did the work, but the tool is what I got to use. So find out what you want to do, and then find the right tool. You could hammer a nail in with a screwdriver, but it's not the best tool. A hammer just works so much better. And luckily, there's a lot of tools out there for really any habit you're trying to change. So I recommend, exploring them and seeing which one works best for you. I hope you find this tip useful. Hope you enjoyed it. If you think you know someone that would also enjoy it, then send it their way, please. And I hope you all have a great day.